That Other Review Show. Brought to you by Two Black Labs Audio and A Week in Geekdom.
Welcome, folks, to the first ever installment of That Other Review Show. I am your host, Giovanni Menendez, and for those of you who do not know what the heck we're doing here, I am the host of an indie podcast called A Week in Geekdom. Now, on our show, we usually talk about geeky things, nerdy stuff, and we review, rant, and just basically talk smack to each other about the stuff you and I love. Originally, the series was it branched off from A Week in Geekdom, and we decided to make it a full-fledged program. Now, a couple months ago, we did a similar show to this, but it didn't really meet our expectations, so we scratched it. A couple bucks later, we got some new equipment, which I'm going to say it's looking quite good right now. We decided to reevaluate our stance on reviewing, and here we go, folks. This is That Other Review Show, where we bring the reviews to you guys on stuff that we love from our own cash, because we ain't getting these games for cheap or early or anything. We're just reviewing them out of our love for the medium, whether it be video games, books, hell, even CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, anything that we love that we want to share with you guys and bring an honest, geeky opinion with no incentive whatsoever, just out of the fun of it and talking to you guys. Then yes, we're gonna do it. So what better way to do this than to bring a review about a game that, for me personally, I had not played, or at least the franchise I had not played since 2003. And I am talking, of course, about The Legend of Zelda. Now, folks, bear with me. Some of you might be saying 2003, that might be Wind Waker, right? Yes, Wind Waker was the last game I played in the Zelda franchise way back when. I strictly remember getting that game and playing the hell out of it. It was one of my all-time favorite games. And now, a couple years later, I caved in. I actually bought a DS because I'm not a huge fan of mobile gaming. I actually caved in. I bought a DS. Actually, it was my co-host in A Week in Geekdom that convinced me to get a DS. And now I'm getting The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Now, first off, my experience in the Zelda world is very limited. Of course, I played the original SNES game because I am just old enough to know that I was in that generation, sort of. I was able to play a couple Game Boy games. I remember getting Link's Awakening. I do remember playing, of course, the Pièce de Résistance. Of course, we're talking Ocarina of Time. That's one of the classics for everybody, right? So I played The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and then followed it up with Wind Waker. I did not actually play Majora's Mask, but I did see a lot of gameplay from friends, and I do know the story, basically, but I was not able to get it for some reason. But yeah, Twilight Princess, a friend of mine lent a copy of it, so I was able to play it. But actually owning, playing, and beating the game, I would say just Ocarina and Wind Waker were my big two ones that I played. So let's go back into the world of Hyrule and play the hell out of Link Between Worlds, sequel to the masterpiece A Link to the Past, which I played as well, I think. Yeah, I think I played it. Essentially, folks, I gotta admit, part of the reason I left the Zelda world, and this will probably sound sacrilegious to you guys, one of the main reasons I actually left was at the end of the day, most of these games are kind of repetitive in their schemes, and I know that's really superficial of me to say, considering there's so many franchises out there that you guys love and that I love, from your NBA 2K, from Call of Duty, or Assassin's Creed, or the Batman games, and all that stuff. But essentially, you are going to rescue the princess, of course. You're going to beat the evil overlord, in this case, is always some version of Ganon. And while doing so, you will get tons of items. You will lose said items, or you'll gain new ones. You will gain access to the Master Sword, and then you have to at least rescue 3 people to progress the story, and then rescue more people to progress the story, and eventually go down and face down the evilness that is Ganon. That is no exception. A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds holds that formula pretty well. Now, A Link Between Worlds, I was interested in picking it up because, unlike the other Zelda games, this I had not played the previous mobile versions, if you will. So it was fun as a newbie to experience the Legend of Zelda in DS form, and of course we got the cartridge right here to prove it. Yes, Zelda: A Link Between Worlds is actually a pretty damn good title. I would dare to say it's essentially one of the top 5 Zelda games of all time, and should rightfully be there. The world is fantastic. The characters are vibrant. The 3D, which surprised me, the 3D is actually pretty cool. There's some instances where I'm facing some enemies that are popping up the screen, up to the screen, and I'm actually seeing it in 3D, and I'm thinking, wow, like they really went out of their way to make this a cool experience. Unlike other games, for example, Scribblenauts, which is very limited in its 3D-ness. Pokemon X and Y, it usually goes with events and Pokemon battles and that sort of thing. But the 3D in that is pretty sweet, I gotta say. Now, the actual game is pretty solid. The gameplay is tight. I love running around and just beating senseless victims with my epic sword skills of just tapping A button or a B button. And of course, there's multiple items that you can use, from the hook shot, from the rods with the magical powers, from the hammers, the bombs. You can use the gauntlets, of course, to raise boulders and throw them and wreak havoc upon the enemies of Hyrule. Now, the story is pretty standard. Of course, you're getting your villain. But I really liked going and switching between the 2 worlds. That's actually pretty cool. And seeing all the different ways it parallels each other's. Of course, one of the guilty pleasures in any Zelda game is finding so many places to explore, right? And finding so many items and going to all these towns and villages. I especially love the tavern, with the Milk Tavern, with them playing those really sweet beats from the old days remixed into this game. And it's essentially one big nostalgia funness for me. The story is pretty awesome. The visuals, as I said, are striking. And I loved, at first, when I first announced A Link Between Worlds, I was not a big fan of the I would say the camera angle over the heads of everybody. I'm not a huge fan of that style, but I quickly got accustomed to it once I started playing it, and I really appreciate it. For some strange reason, I underestimated the power of Nintendo, and I thought that I was not going to see anything else but that, and just the dialogue, or what little dialogue there is. But I was especially surprised when there were a couple cutscenes and you would actually see them move around in 3D with interacting with everything, and that really I found that really exciting for some reason. Yeah, but A Link Between Worlds is a fun Zelda game that for 40 bucks packs a wallop and a punch. You will get frustrated in some parts, as I did. I know the one of the hardest, most recent boss fights I've ever had to fight was, of course, the little sandworm in the desert temple. That sucker, I think I must have tried that for like five friggin' times, and every time I would get anxious and fall off, or he would hit me with one of those pedal things, and I would fall down and have to start the whole thing all over again. And by the fifth time, I was already an expert on that dungeon, guaranteed. But yeah, it's always fun. And one of the great things about this game, like any other game out there that likes to mess with your head with you collecting stuff. Ravio, whatever you want to call him, he annoys the hell out of me for the simple reason that I did not realize you could actually buy the items from him. So for the longest of time, I was just renting that thing, the bow and the boomerang and all that stuff. So when I would lose, I was like, hey. I got pissed off because he was like being a douche. I know. I mean, he said he was gonna rent it, but come on, I just died, and you're like, oh, sorry, I am taking my stuff, and I was like, this dick. But yeah, it's when I found out you could actually buy them, I just got hundreds of rupees and bought those suckers, so I could no longer have to deal with that. So yeah, but still, it's a great character, and I like the idea that he actually rents out your own house, your own home, to do his really kind of lame deals. Because basically, he only has one customer, if you think about it. So I don't know where he's getting his income or food or anything. I don't know. What is he doing? Do we need to explore that? Maybe, I don't know. So if they ever make a DLC for Legend of Zelda, I think it should be him. I think it should be about that little guy, you know? So, yeah, Zelda. As always, you face down the baddie, you take him out, and at the end of the day, what can be said? This is a timeless classic and a game that doesn't require a lot from you, but at the same time, you pour your heart into it. You get so enthralled in the Hyrule world with so many characters and meeting all the villains and fighting and doing these grand quests. I mean, this is the Legend of Zelda. This is what we're talking about. We are Link, the hero of Hyrule. And of course, I appreciate the fact that Zelda's history is so convoluted. And if I am not mistaken, and for all of you Zelda purists out there, correct me if I'm wrong, this game is supposed to take place in the failed scenario from after the Ocarina of Time, right? So, with that said, I think it would be pretty cool if they release some sort of, and I'm going into comic book territory here, but I think for a future Zelda, for maybe for the Wii U, who knows? I think it would be pretty cool if you made like a multiverse project and blended all these sagas together and see what happens when you mix like your Wind Waker timeline with Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time and all that stuff. So I think that would be pretty exciting to watch in a Zelda game. But yeah, this game is amazing, and I think any 3DS owner should, or heck, if I mean, two games that are mandatory for a 3DS owner, I would have to say A Link Between Worlds is one of them. The other, I'm not going to say because I don't want to get into a flame war, but yes, this game is a must for you guys. And of course, I've already got my DS all tricked out in a small little Triforce thing. Wow, I pointed horribly. There we go. There we go. Yeah. So, yeah, this game is amazing. I wholeheartedly suggest you picking it up for the simple reason that it's Zelda. It's one of those timeless classics like your Mario games or your Final Fantasies or even your Halos for the Xbox crowd and all that stuff. It's one of those games where it's a guaranteed epic ride and you're going to love it from start to finish. So we're not actually going to give this a rating because that's what other people do, and that's them, and this is that other review show. So what we're going to say is, if you like adventure, if you like exciting action, if you like a good portable handheld game, and you're not, even though the story is, yes, in some ways you've seen this before in other Zelda titles, but it's that classic nostalgia that fuels this game, and it's really accessible for new fans. I know what happened. I knew what happened in the previous games, but I was able to play this from a noobish perspective and really enjoy it. This is a solid game that should not be missed. And if you like, as I said, if you like adventure and funness in your video games, then yes, I highly, highly recommend this excellent Zelda game. A Link Between Worlds is way thumbs up, 5 out of 5, highly recommended. Whatever kind of rating system you want to give it, I'm not really into that whole thing with rating a game. But I will say, if you want to buy a game this year or next year, before the next one comes out, be sure to check out A Link Between Worlds. This is actually my first video game review, so I really hope, and I'm learning as I go along, I really hope you guys enjoy this review. It's been awesome for me. I love doing these sorts of crazy things. Of course, you can comment on the sections below. You can follow us on Facebook. You can like us there. You can follow us on Twitter. You can look for us on Vine. Our main website, that's aweekingeekdom.com. And of course, you can stay tuned for our different programming. Each month, we'll be bringing 3 brand new shows to you guys. This is the first one, so this is the inaugural episode of that other review show. We couldn't be happier about this, folks. Last time we did a show called A Week in Geekdom Reviews, and while it was fun, yeah, it doesn't compare to the excitement that I have for you guys right now. So I'm actually really giddy to get this to you guys. This game, of course, brought a lot of nostalgic memories for me, and I picked it up and I said, you know what? I'm bringing back this review show, and I'm talking a little bit about Zelda. and I didn't actually want to spoil anything. I was originally going to go through what happens in the game and how you switch back and forth between the two worlds, who you face, what you do, the sages, which I won't get into just in case you want to find out what I'm referring to. But yeah, getting to them, passing the dungeons, that's always a challenge in some regard. I am thrilled to be on this adventure with you guys. So hit me up with some suggestions, feedback, comments, anything that you think can make this show better. It's wholeheartedly welcomed. Now, as for this network that we're creating, this programming, of course you're getting that other review show, which you've just seen, and then right after we're getting What If. Now that series is going to be pretty cool, so you might want to check that out when it airs sometime after this episode. And then afterward, our main show, A Week in Geekdom, the podcast that started it all for us. It's moving from podcasting land, from audio land, and we're doing a monthly web series discussing and talking about all the geeky news that you need to know, and we're going to rant and fight about them. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not the only one involved with this, so I want to thank my co-host Ryan Perez, Argenis Lopez, and everybody else that in some way has inspired me to do awesome things. So here's to you guys. And for the next episode, I think we'll either be reviewing a comic book, a video game, or something else entirely. So, for everyone else and myself here at That Other Review Show, a part of A Week in Geekdom, I've been your host, Giovanni Menendez, and I will see all of you laters. Later, folks.
Remember to subscribe, or you can like and follow us on social media, or just follow us on our main website, that's aweekingeekdom.com.